Welcome to the Fusionary Health Podcast. I have an incredible guest in store for you today, Dr. Kela Smith. She's a holistic integrative fertility and hormone doctor. She holds a PhD in natural and holistic medicine, as well as a double board certification as Doctor of Natural Medicine and Doctor of Humanitarian Medicine. She's also got a nutritionist background and is a certified health coach. She founded the Hormone Puzzle Society and the Hormone Puzzle Society and Educational Institute. And today we got to talk about some pretty fantastic topics. We spoke about fertility, what it takes to have great fertility, how having great fertility health applies to all the rest of our transitions in women's health, pregnancy, post-pregnancy, premenopause, menopause, and everything in between as well. We got to talk about some of those things that we don't realize are really building the health struggles that we have, that we oftentimes recognize at fertility, but could very much be the problem going forward as well. And so I can't wait for you to enjoy this episode with Dr. Kela. Enjoy the episode ahead. Good morning and welcome to the Fusionary Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Shivani Gupta, and this is the podcast dedicating to recalibrating your health every day. My goal is to help you wake up each day energized by addressing root causes and giving you new approaches to preventive health. The more we know about integrative health, the more empowered we are in building the vibrant health we want. Welcome to the Fusionary Health Podcast. I have an incredible guest in store for you today, Dr. Kela Smith. Welcome, Kela.
Thank you, Dr. Shivani. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So Kela has an incredible practice called the Hormone Puzzle Society, and she has an incredible summit called the Solving Infertility Summit. And I've been a guest on her summit twice now to talk about fertility and health from the Ayurvedic perspective. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast today to dive into fertility, which is a topic I'm pretty passionate about because I happen to be lucky. I was able to conceive my kids like within a month or two of deciding, yes, I'm finally ready for kids. I had done 2 years of preparation leading up to that moment because I already knew a lot about Ayurveda, fertility, and pregnancy. But a lot of women around me have struggled with fertility. And I have watched this unfold, heard so many stories about it, and thought, why can't we solve this one? So thank you for creating a whole summit called the Solving Fertility Summit.
Sure. Yes. That was one of the reasons I created that summit was because I was so frustrated, and we'll get into my story, but there just was no answers out there. And I thought women need to know this information and know that they can do things to change their fertility story. So that's exactly what we did.
Amazing. So let's kick off with your story first. And then we're going to do like 101 on fertility, a little of the basics, and I can share from the Ayurveda perspective. And then I want to go further into why it's so important to get all the information you need, not just from your doctor practitioner team, which might have some time for you, but outside of that in a way that's condensed and all put together for you so you can get the help you need.
Sure. So my story started, this whole company started out of my own personal story. My husband and I got married. We thought it would be very easy to get pregnant because that's what I was taught your whole life. You're taught if you have sex, you get pregnant. That's how it works. And I found out really quickly that that wasn't the case for us. And so we did what most people do. We went to our conventional doctor. I went to my OBGYN. I told her we were trying. She ran some basic tests, said, well, I don't see anything wrong. Come back and see me in 3 to 6 months if it still hasn't happened. And so that's what we did. And a long story short, we went back in about 4 months, I think it was. And she said, okay, well, it looks like you have unexplained infertility. You need to go see a fertility clinic and see if they have a protocol for you, what they suggest. So that's what we did. We went to the fertility clinic in our local town and they ran some more tests and confirmed that we had unexplained infertility, which now I know is kind of a BS diagnosis, but back then I didn't know. And so they said, well, now you're 36 and we suggest you do IVF. And I thought, wait a minute, there's nothing medically wrong with me. You just said I have unexplained infertility. I have no diagnosis. So why do I need to do IVF as my first stop? Even though we'd been trying for about a year at this point.
Right.
So I left that office and I thought, no, this is, I think IVF is beautiful. And if we need it as our last stop, I knew it would be there, but I didn't want to start there only being a year into this.
Yeah.
And so I left that office and I got really passionate about, okay, what do I need to do to get as healthy and as fertile as I possibly can so that I can get pregnant naturally? And this was 13, 14 years ago. There was no Instagrams or Facebooks or any of this. So I literally went to the library and I was like, okay, what do I need to be eating? What do I need to be doing? And so that's what I did. I figured out that I was eating really low fat and low calorie, and that wasn't good for my fertility. I found that I didn't realize this at the time, but now I know that I had hypothalamic amenorrhea. I wasn't cycling regularly because I was really thin. I was an athlete. I was a personal trainer. And so all of those pieces played a role. And so that's what I did. I started working on that. And I ended up getting pregnant, not once, but twice. Had my second baby at 40. And so with a newborn and a 2-year-old, I said, I have to teach this. And so I went back to school and started to pursue this career and started my company. And here we are about 8 years later. And I help women all over the world solve these issues.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah. And we underestimate the number of things we're doing as women that are counterproductive to being fertile. And it's interesting because from the Ayurvedic perspective, think of fertility as vitality. Yeah. Like if I am vital, I am now 44 to 45 this year, 44. I don't want to be fertile. I'm done. I have my 2 kids. My kids are 10 and 14, 11 and 14. I'm very done with that project of my life. But don't you look at the same things you would do as for fertility as being the same things you would do for being vital, vitality, energy wise, like everything flowing and moving beautifully in the body, having healthy cycles all the way through perimenopause until menopause? Isn't it in some ways the same work we need to do? Because I think as a society, like you said, we're taught work out hard, be as skinny and thin as you can, cut those calories down. And if you think about it, that's the most depleting thing we can do. We're just stripping our insides, which punishes us for fertility, punishes us badly in pregnancy. The body's going to pull everything out of you and give it to the baby, post-baby, and then look forward. Perimenopause, menopause, you'll be an osteoporotic weak person. So will you share some of those misnomers that as society we're told, but are truly 100% counterproductive to our fertility?
Yeah, well, I love what you just said. Fertility and health, they go hand in hand. And that's what I explain to people as I'm working with them. Your body is not getting pregnant. That means there's something wrong. That's kind of a flag, a red flag, if you will, saying like, there's something wrong here. We need to fix this. But we're not just working on your fertility. We want you to be healthy for the rest of your life. And so if you're not getting pregnant, something's wrong and we need to figure out what that is and fix that. So I 100% agree. And we're not taught any of this. We're taught this is normal. We're taught it's normal to struggle with fertility. Let's get you to IVF. It's normal not to have your cycle. Let's just put you on birth control and give you a fake cycle. It's normal to be miserable in menopause. Let's just put you on some HRV and get rid of these symptoms. And so none of this is normal. It might be common, but it's definitely not normal. And working on your health and fertility now is going to help you to be as healthy as possible through all those stages of your life.
Absolutely. So when some women come into your office and they say, okay, I don't understand. I have unexplained infertility. My options were freezing my eggs a long time ago, which I've seen videos online where practitioners have said, I wonder if we're wasting people's time by doing this idea of freezing their eggs. We're not getting embryos later on in the process. Then I know when women are going through IVF, there's like this process of really jacking up their hormones really high, which is causing weight gain. It's causing massive hormone fluctuations for egg retrieval. So will you kind of explain the journey so that people can understand, like, okay, I'm at door A and there's still doors B, C, and D in front of me. What I have seen, because I've been on many fertility like podcasts and different things, is there's a lot of science to this. You have to all of a sudden learn your hormone numbers and how everything works. And that sounds like a stressful place to be. to be in that place of uncertainty of, did we get 3 eggs? Did we not? Were my numbers right? What have I been doing wrong? So we kind of break that down for us.
Yeah. So you're talking about the journey through IVF?
Well, the journey through fertility, even pre-IVF.
Yeah. So I would love to get somebody before they even consider doing IVF, or if they've done IVF before they do another cycle that possibly could fail. Let's start working on this before that happens. And so some of the things that I like to look at first, before we do anything, I like to look at your beliefs. Like, what do you believe? Do you believe that you can actually get pregnant and stay pregnant? Or do you believe this is going to be hard? My body is broken. I don't know if I can do this. I have to do IVF. What are those beliefs? So let's kind of look at that first. I want you to believe down in your core that you can and will get pregnant. No matter what you've been told, no matter what your diagnosis is, you can and you will do this. You have to believe that, because as you know, in Ayurvedic medicine, beliefs are going to control your physical body, and what you believe, that's the energy that you're putting out, and that's going to control the actions that you do. And it all comes back to that belief. So that's the first thing. Yeah. The second thing I like to talk about is make sure the foundations of health are there. We can go and we'll get into testing that I like to do and all of those pieces. But if the foundational pieces of health aren't being met on a daily basis, then the testing is irrelevant, because you haven't laid these foundations. And what do I mean by this? What does your diet look like? Are you eating good, clean, healthy food that has come from the earth? Or are you living on packaged foods and coffee drinks and fast foods and all these things that are going to jeopardize your health and your fertility? What does that look like? What does your diet look like? And obviously, I say this to my patients and clients all the time. You don't have to be perfect. I'm not telling you can never have that cookie or like that one glass of wine, but it's what you do every single day that's going to add up to these big results. So let's look at the diet and clean that up. And then what does your lifestyle look like? How much sleep are you getting? How much are you drinking? How much water are you drinking? How much are you moving and breathing? All of these foundational pieces that are going to paint this beautiful picture of health. So that's the third thing. The second thing. Let's look at our foundational pieces and make sure that those are all where they need to be. And again, you don't have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing any of these things, then think, okay, where's one place I can start tomorrow? Everybody can do one thing tomorrow that's going to change their health. Or maybe you're thinking, I'm doing all of this. Yeah. Where's one place you can up level? Where nobody's perfect. Where's one place where you can say, okay, I'm going to do a little bit better in this department to get my health to be, in optimal shape. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing I like to do, and I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but I love to look at functional lab testing and say, okay, all of those pieces are laid. We're still not getting pregnant. Where's the trigger coming from? Where is that root cause that we might be missing in traditional blood work? And so I like to dive deep with hormone testing. I run Dutch tests a lot, where I'll look at the hormone profile, how hormones are being detoxed and excreted. That's just as important as what the levels are. I like to do a deep dive into the microbiome and say, okay, do you have any opportunistic bacteria, any gut bugs, any leaky gut that's causing inflammation? As you know, inflammation is a huge piece of this. I also like to look at minerals. Do you have mineral imbalances? What do your minerals look like? Do you have heavy metal toxicities? Sometimes I'll even do things like a mycotoxins test. Do you have any mold toxicity that's causing these issues? So again, just digging a little deeper and looking for what might be the trigger of why you're not getting pregnant in the first place. And then we almost have a roadmap to follow. Once those foundations are laid, we have the next piece of where to go.
True. And it makes total sense. And that can be true in any phase of our life as women. If we haven't, I've hired functional medicine and worked with functional medicine since 2020. And at this point, I feel like I'm half certified and I should just get certified. Finish the studies. I'm like ready, because I already know that if we don't have a gut microbiome test, if we don't have a hormone test, if we don't understand what are those big triggers that are causing us to be inflamed and imbalanced, we're kind of screwed. We're just assuming that we're fine. And one thing that's interesting is when I had my kids, because Ayurveda teaches so much about ideal healthy pregnancy, pre-pregnancy to set the body up for that fertility and for that health, but then pregnancy and then post-pregnancy, we have a big emphasis on post-pregnancy. I always thought, okay, what am I going to do for my children's future fertility? Because if I'm 44 and I know tons of women who've gone through big fertility journeys and had struggles with it, what does that mean 20, 30 years down the line for the kids? It's probably going to be double as worse, and then double. And we're talking about, I mean, the worst thing would be extinction, but multiple generations that aren't able to have kids. So do you think as we go forward, this is going to be more of a problem? And what do you think are the biggest things we are doing to our health that are causing these fertility issues that you've seen?
Yeah, sure. I definitely think this is a big problem. And I think this is the real pandemic. I mean, because like you said, if we keep going down this road, we could lead to extinction and the human race could be, wiped off the planet. And that's a very, very scary thing. So not to be doom and gloom here, but it is a major, major problem. And I completely agree. And a lot of people, I don't know if they don't know this or they just don't realize this, but you are contributing to your future children's health based on how healthy you are as the mom and the dad. The dad's health plays a huge role in the baby's health. So it's 50-50, your genetics. So we need to make sure both people in the relationship are as healthy as they possibly can be. So that's the first thing. And then, yes, I see in my practice, the main things that are causing fertility issues now more than ever, the first thing is toxicities. We are surrounded with toxins there's thousands of chemicals that are introduced every day into our world, and they're just everywhere in the water, in the our air, in our food, in our products we use. They're just everywhere. And a lot of times I'll say this and people think, well, if they're everywhere, then I can't do anything about it. Like, it's so scary and overwhelming, but there's a lot you can do in your personal home to try to avoid as many toxins as you can, choosing cleaner beauty products and cleaning products, and don't use plastics, and choosing cleaner cookware and those types of things, making smart choices within your own household and with your dollars. The less we support these companies that produce these chemical laden products, the less they're going to be profitable. And then, hopefully they will not do this anymore. True. So that's really the first thing. But then also making sure that your body is set up to detox. You want to make sure that your detox pathways are open, that you're fully hydrated, that you're allowing your body to sweat on a daily basis, and just really getting the toxins that come in, getting them out and detoxed appropriately. And make sure that you're going to the bathroom every day. That's a big one. You have to poop at least once a day. I say up to 3 times. If you can do that, that's like the gold standard. But people look at me like I'm crazy when I say 3 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first thing. Sorry, I'll pause there. And
keep going. You're doing
okay,
great.
Okay.
I love it. Everything you're saying, I'm like, absolutely, 100%.
So toxicities. And then the second thing that leads to is deficiencies. I see so many people are deficient in nutrients and minerals, and, they don't have the raw materials that they need to create adequate hormone levels. So their hormones are out of balance. And then that is going to, then their immune system is also compromised because they don't have the vitamins and minerals they need. So lots of deficiencies I see within my clients and patients. And a lot of times, I'll say a lot of times, sometimes I find that you don't even have any symptoms of this. A lot of times people don't even realize they're deficient until I'll do something like a mineral test. I'll do a food test, and I'll see, okay, what is it showing? And then it'll show all these deficiencies, and they have no clue. So even if you're eating clean and you're listening to this and you're like, I'm super healthy, I eat really clean, it's just the quality of our food is not what it used to be. And the quality of our gut is not what it used to be because of all the toxicities. So that's the second thing, is deficiencies. Nice. And then really the third thing I see is inflammation. We are so inflamed. And I know you know this, you talked about this a lot, but just as a society, we're just inflamed from toxicities, from overwhelming amounts of stress, from being overworked and underfed, and just that go of our lifestyle nowadays. And it just leads to a lot of inflammation. And inflammation, in my opinion, is the root of all disease, and that includes infertility. So if you're an inflamed body that's deficient and toxic, it's going to be very hard to create a life within So those are really the three things that I find the most when I'm looking at what the trigger is for infertility.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just said if you're inflamed and deficient and toxic, it's hard to create a new life. And what's so powerful about that sentence, first of all, mic drop, of course. If you're inflamed, deficient, and toxic, how will the body and the universe say, yes, you're ready to carry an entire life all the way through and build one with what you're bringing in? And I'm not saying that from a blaming standpoint, because the automatic thought is like, oh, well, I'm doing something wrong. It's multifactorial. I kind of thought of this image of pillars, like sitting in your own temple or in your own Greek. I've been to Italy so many times. I'm obsessed with Italy, but like in a place full of these beautiful pillars. And let's say you were sitting in the middle. Each pillar matters. And sometimes those pillars are hard to build. And I know for myself, I've done all this functional testing. And when we do my blood work, every 2-3 years, I hire a new functional medicine doctor. And I'm like, tell me what to do. And they're always like, whoa, that's a lot of deficiencies. What are you eating? And my problem is I'm so healthy because I'm so into health. I'll cut large categories of food out of my life because I'm like, that's bad. That's bad. That has oxalates. That has, whatever, pesticides. I can't do that. That's out of season. I'm not eating that. Or that's a food created by man in the last 200 years. I'm not touching that either. So imagine if you're trying to be healthy, sometimes you're really causing the deficiencies by accident, unknowingly. And until a practitioner orders a mega panel of blood work on you, you will not see it. And so a lot of my friends are saying, okay, well, I'm going to my doctor that's covered by insurance. Can you just tell me what to order? And when they go, the doctor looks at them like they're crazy. The doctor's like, no, I'm not ordering 18 pages on you. What are you talking about? That's not what I do. And until I got those 18 pages plus blood work on me, I didn't know Shivani runs mega D deficient. My vitamin D is in the toilet. Even though I live in Florida and think I take enough vitamin D, I had to really double, triple down on vitamin D. B vitamins, I'm vegetarian. Severely B deficient, mineral deficient, vitamin A deficient, oleic acid, that's in olive oil, deficient. You can have weird deficiencies and then you wonder, wow, my thyroid's not working. Wow, I don't make testosterone enough. Wow. So I say this because if you're my audience and you know me and you've listened to me, we're almost 100 episodes into this podcast. Although fertility may not be the topic that you think of for yourself, think of fertility as a woman, as your fertility vitality for life, and be willing to look deeper into yourself and say, okay, even in my 40s, post children, am I deficient, toxic, and inflamed? Yeah. Because I can honestly tell you, I think that's 99% of us. Yeah. There may be some 1% magical women who live in like the Amazon forest, are not exposed to microplastics all day, horrible toxins, aren't wearing makeup, buying skincare at American stores or any Western industrialized country store, aren't breathing in the air and water that we are doing right now, and eating off the earth in a place untouched. That could possibly leave you 100% vital and having fertility and vitality, right?
Right. If you meet that person, I would love to meet them too, because I don't think that person exists.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shivani Gupta, and I created Fusionary Formulas because I believe everyone deserves a natural way to support their body's health. If you struggle with joint discomfort or stiffness, our turmeric gold delivers powerful curcumin in a form your body can truly absorb. It's science-backed with the highest quality ingredients and designed to support your body's natural inflammatory response. Take the next step in your health and wellness journey today. Visit FusionaryFormulas.com and use code FusionaryHealth for 15% off. Fusionary Formulas, ancient wisdom, modern science, maximum impact. And how would we do a Dutch microbiome and blood test on them to get the proof to ourselves, right?
Yes. Yeah, but I completely agree. Yeah, it's 99%, if not higher, for sure.
Yeah. And so when someone comes to you and says, well, what would you have me do? Because I have actually been interviewed on fertility podcasts and then done an Ayurveda consultation on the host. Because when they met me, they were like, well, I've done everything, but I'm still missing a piece. Can we do a consultation? And when I do the consultation on them, I'm like, you are a vata body. You are running yourself like on a tightrope. You have to cut work down. I'm sorry. Sometimes my answers are brutally honest because my answers come to me and I just say them to the person. I'm like, you got to cut your work down 20%. I know you're a career woman. I wouldn't want to hear that at all. And I need you to eat a lot more healthy fat with love and a lot more. Let's warm up this body with love. And it's got to hold some more fat before you ask the body to go build something.
Yeah. Well, that's what my mother said that to me. She said, I think you're working out too much and you're not eating enough and you're too skinny. That's what she said to me. And I was a personal trainer at the time who was like so proud of my body and what I created. And I looked at her like she had 3 heads and I'm like, too skinny. What? I'm healthy. But sometimes it's true. You need more fat. You need to stop working so much. You need to maybe gain a little weight. And it really does make a huge difference for fertility.
Absolutely. So when you went out and created what you have around educating on fertility, where do you start? Do you start with like, it's a sperm and an egg? And let's talk about men's health equal to women's health. It's not all the woman who has to do all the work. And then how did you build out this coaching program for women to go out and do this? I'm so curious.
Yeah. So the first thing, you're asking me what I do when somebody comes in as a potential client or a patient that wants to work with me.
Yes.
How do I decide where to go first with them?
Yeah.
So I do a very in-depth health questionnaire. It's 57 pages. And I want to look at past, present, future. I want to look at any previous labs they've had done. And really I look at that as a puzzle. And that's why I call it the hormone puzzle, because it is this big puzzle where I'm trying to look for, okay, what piece is missing? Where do we need more information to have enough data to put together a specific program or plan for you? So that's really what I'll do first and see where we need more data. But then also, like I said earlier, I really teach on the foundations of health. That's what my hormone puzzle is. Puzzle's an acronym and it goes through all of those pieces. I can say it really quick if you want. But it's, so puzzle is proper whole food nutrition. P, proper whole food nutrition. U is understanding supplements. Z is zapping stress. Z or Z's for sleep. L is love and encouragement for yourself and surrounding yourself with love and encouragement. And E is exercise and environment. And so those are the foundational pieces that I'll teach people that come into me where they need to start. And again, like I said earlier, if you're already doing all of those things, where can we up level? If you're not doing any of that, where can we start? So, and then based on the foundational pieces and where I think we need to go with labs, that's how I decide where to go with somebody from the beginning.
Wow. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Good job creating that. That is the foundation of great health. It is everything you just touched on. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And you were asking about my certification program too. So the reason I created this is for anybody who's ever thought about becoming a fertility coach, or maybe you're already working in the wellness space, either conventional space or in the more holistic space, nurses, chiropractors, nutritionists, dietitian, health coaches. And the reason I created it is because, well, there's a few reasons. Yeah. One, there's 1 in 6 women and couples globally that struggle with infertility. And there's only a handful of people that work in this sector. And we just need help. I feel every single person in the world that wants to get pregnant should be able to get pregnant, and they should have a coach to guide them through that. You need somebody to hold your hand that's not in it, that can tell you and show you the way. So that's the first reason I created this. And then I also just looked at, when I got into this in the very, very beginning, when I was struggling with infertility, and I really wanted to see, okay, is there a program out there that can teach me more about this? Because I just kind of pieced it all together. There was nothing. There was no other certification program that was specifically focused on fertility. And so I said, I'm going to create it. What do I want to see in a program like this? And so I did. I created this in 2019, and we've had hundreds of students go through, and it's everybody from women who have struggled with infertility and then they're on on the other side of it who want to start a new career, to all those professions that I just mentioned that want to add fertility into their already established practices.
Wow.
And it's a great, we were talking offline, it's a great, great profession. I still can't believe that I get to do this work and to be a certified fertility coach and work with people that are struggling. It's just, there's no career that compares. It's beautiful. So
I love that. I really do. I can't remember what year now, but I feel like it was 2017, 2018, wrote a whole book on Ayurvedic pregnancy because, like you said, there was nothing out there. So when I was ready to have my kids, Anya was born in 2010. I spent years before that thinking about it and preparing. And at the time, I actually owned an organic children's clothing company.
wow.
And so I was building the market for this product, even though I hadn't had kids yet, because I thought, how can a woman who has kids be stuck with all these not like horrible options?
Yeah.
And so when I built the product, I was going to all the baby conferences, ABC Kids and the ones in New York. And I kept seeing this explosion happening around organic and better products. I was like, okay, great. And great products for pregnancy, for breastfeeding, all these ideas. But no one had written a book on how to have an Ayurvedic pregnancy. And so it was my master's thesis. I just wrote the book and I was like, I have to birth this book or else. And I went and researched. I would go to every mom, every grandma I could find and say, what were the practices passed down to you? And then I would correlate it to Ayurvedic practitioners and say, okay, well, why? Why are you teaching us to eat healthy fat for 40 days after we have a baby? Like, we want to lose weight after we have the baby. And they're like, no. You want to build your future health in those 40 days. You have to refill mother because mother just gave up a lot and mother's future health is riding on this. And so now I look back and that book is so 101 to me. And I think a lot of what I wrote in there is taught, but some of the big concepts out of it were the Ayurvedic pieces. And at the time, I always thought I'm going to teach Ayurveda and pregnancy because I really look at pregnancy as you are building the tagline of that book is how to build a Zen baby. I really thought if you show up to pregnancy healthy and whole and so ready to build a beautiful, healthy child, then the end product will not only be a beautiful, healthy child, but also a Zen child who will not then drive you crazy for 30 years.
I love that.
I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of parents have kids and then it's a rough motherhood and life experience, or it can be a great one. And so it's interesting if women show up and their big struggle is infertility, and it was horrible and stressful and painful for years leading up to pregnancy. And even when they're pregnant, they're fraught with this fear of this may not work, this may not last, nothing has worked for me. Then all that negative energy, all that fear, all that everything, like the worst of the emotions, anxiety, stress, fear, terror, are going into baby.
Yeah.
And we know our emotions translate into our children. So I really love this topic of fertility. I'm just sharing that I'm obsessed with it because it's so important to who we get to create, who we get to experience. I get to experience my teen kids. I get the honor of raising these little beings who are already whole people now at this point. They're going to grow up to be adults. But I just wonder if you have some stories around working with women who are finally able to have that peace and that trust that now they're going to get to have the child of their dreams and they can enjoy the pregnancy.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have so many different stories around this, and it still never gets old when somebody sends me a message and says, I'm finally pregnant after infertility and I'm going to have my baby. And I also work with many people through our pregnancy program and making sure that they stay pregnant and they have a healthy pregnancy, a healthy birth, which we haven't even talked about. That's a whole nother show in itself.
Sure.
Healthy postpartum, all of those pieces. And it's just a miracle. And one thing I know we've talked a lot about physical pieces around fertility, but one thing I also work a lot with my clients and patients on is that mental and emotional piece. Let's make sure that we are sound and emotionally ready for this.
Sure.
We are mentally ready and we're as strong as we can be, mind, body, and spirit. And so that's what I get when I work with my clients and patients. It truly is a amazing. So yeah, I have so many stories around this, and just people coming in so just frustrated and broken and just ready to give up. And then once we start working together, I'm able to show them like there is like the belief, going back to, you have to believe this is possible. And then once they start to realize that, then it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. As they proceed, they get pregnant and they have their babies.
I love that. Have you had a story where it wasn't physical? It was actually the mental, emotional that had to be brought together for the...
So I think it's a little bit of both. So, and I think we've spoken about this before, but my dissertation was on optimizing fertility through quantum medicine. And so I did a study with 12 participants who had all struggled with infertility, and they're in one piece of their journey or another. Some people had been struggling for, 3 or 4 years. Some people were like 6 to 7 months in. They all shared this one core thing, and that was they all had trauma in their past. And I started looking, I had them fill out the questionnaires, and we started working together. And so that wasn't the point of the study, was to look for trauma, but I noticed that was a theme. And so once we started working, I did some hypnotherapy with them and started really working around the mind and releasing some of the trauma. 6 of those people got pregnant after infertility. One lady had been struggling for 4 years and had failed 2 failed IVF cycles and just never thought it was going to happen. And so she did have some physical pieces, but a lot of it I feel was the trauma piece, and that mindset of I'm broken, I'm I've been traumatized, I'm holding in this. And so once that was released, she got pregnant and she just had her baby. So it was really cool. So it's not always physical. I feel there most of the time there is a physical component, but a lot of times too it's the mind and the spirit piece is just as impactful in the being able to get and stay pregnant.
Absolutely. I remember I was in a lot of different pregnancy classes when I was pregnant with my first child, hypnobirthing class, which was amazing. There was a conscious something pregnancy class that I went to. And I remember the teacher in that class saying, if you don't face your traumas, you'll face them in birth. It will all come up. So it's worth it to try to process it all beforehand and before even when you're pregnant, because otherwise it is something that's going to roadblock you in a sense, is what you're talking about. Like it'll stop you from getting pregnant, or you'll face it in a moment you don't want to. I remember this last year, an amazing woman reached out to me. She was dealing with infertility, and she had gone through 5 rounds of IVF cycles that had not worked. She already had a first child. So she already knew, I can have a kid. I have all the capacity, but something's wrong here. And I've gone to functional medicine after functional medicine doctor. I've healed all these different issues. She did have one big health struggle that had happened with a medication or something she took. So she found me because she was looking up inflammation and Ayurveda and podcasts and things she could listen to. And she found me and she said, she booked a consultation right off the bat. I got to meet her, fell in love with her, such a cool girl. And she hired my team, like all the doctors who I work with for my own health, who have been on this podcast. And she followed my advice, took my formulas around turmeric and the adaptogenic teas and things I built. And she got pregnant. Finally, 5 rounds failed and finally won. And I was like, what? Like, that's incredible. You sometimes it's the tiniest of things. And like you said, in functional medicine, if we haven't really looked, we just wouldn't know what is that one thing holding us back. And imagine 5 cycles is a lot of wear and tear and stuff on the body.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to reiterate, and I love that story. It's beautiful. But if you're doing, I say more than 1 cycle, like maybe 2, if you've done 2 cycles and they're failing, please do not do another cycle. IVF, IUI, timed intercourse with meds. If it's not working, let's figure out why before you keep putting your money in, your time, your heartache. Don't do that. Please, please stop and find out why it's happening. And then, once we heal the body and figure out the trigger, then if you want to go back into another cycle, it's that much more likely to work.
Right. Absolutely. Well, is there anything else today that we have not talked about that you want to talk about for my audience based on our conversation so far?
Yeah, just again to reiterate the belief, I want you to leave this, if nothing else, with that belief that believe in yourself. This can and will happen. I know many of your listeners have been down a really hard road. I get it. I was there. I was you. But I never gave up that belief and that hope that my body was not broken. It can and will heal, and I can and will get pregnant. So I want you to keep pushing for that until you reach the end where you have your baby in your arms. So I just want to leave everybody with that. And I know we could do a whole nother show on this as well, but we didn't touch a ton on male fertility.
Sure.
Men are just as important. You guys are not off the hook. So women listening, get with your partners and your husbands and make sure that they are laying those foundational pieces. If they have symptoms that they don't, they can't correlate with anything, get them some testing, make sure that you're working with somebody to make sure your men are just as healthy. And with men, I find they don't want to hear some men don't want to hear as much about the fertility piece, but this is their health. You want your men healthy and around for the rest of your lives together. So make sure that they are healthy, and that starts with their fertility.
True.
So, yeah.
Very true. It's interesting. We get so obsessed about it as women because it feels like our fertility journey, and we forget it's equal parts, and it's important that they go get themselves as healthy as well. Like it's equally important. And I think oftentimes we just forget that completely until it becomes a true fertility issue. And then you're at the doctor, and then you're really trying to dive into where is the issue coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it breaks my heart. I see these women working so hard, and they're doing all the things and eating all the things and the supplements. And then their partners are just over here like drinking beer and eating pizza. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's true. It's everyone has to shift their behavior to get to the result. And I think that what's good is that's coming out more. I saw a video on social just in the last few weeks that was like, preeclampsia comes down to the men's health, and morning sickness comes down to the men's health and the health of the child. And I thought, whoa, like that is a movement to create around, hey guys, like we think of ourselves as being healthy in our 20s or 30s or whatever age category, 40s, around fertility. If you want a great, healthy, amazing child, this is half your job. Like step up to the plate around your health.
100%. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as you can see, I'm passionate about women's health and pregnancy and fertility and post-pregnancy. And then of course the stages that I'm in, perimenopause, with menopause around the corner, it seems. With everyone's like 48 to 51 is menopause. I'm like, okay, all right. Gotta learn the next phases that are coming up.
Well, you're ready. Don't worry about it. You are healthy and you will be perfectly ready for menopause. So it's not bad.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Show up healthy. My theory is show up uninflamed. To each women's health transition, just reduce your inflammation, fix any underlying issues. But if you reduce that inflammation, the body's only going to perform better and better as it hits each transition.
For sure. I love it.
Beautiful. Well, Dr. Kela, will you share with us where people can find you and how people can sign up for all the cool things you talked about today?
Sure. So the best place is the website. That's at hormonepuzzlesociety.com. And over there, we have a free gift. So we have a couple of free gifts, but for this show, we have our fertility meal plan. We also have a special free gift for your audience, which is our egg health guide. So we'll give you that link so you can put it in the show notes so they can grab that. It's a little cookbook I put together specifically focused on recipes for egg health, hormone imbalance, and overall health. So that's the free gifts. And then I'm also on social. So Instagram's probably my favorite place. And I'm at Kela, which is KELA _ health coach, and Hormone Puzzle Method on Instagram. Facebook's Kela Health Coach. And I just got on TikTok, which is pretty fun because I talk about the certification over on TikTok. So if you're interested in that, find me at Dr. Kela Smith on TikTok. And the last thing, I have a podcast, which is the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. We've done over 300 episodes, and it's a great show about fertility, hormones, and functional medicine health.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. If you have someone in your life who is looking to support themselves around fertility and women's health and these topics, please make sure to share this episode. The whole point of this podcast is to share this wisdom, to support those we love, and to get this out into the community and the world so that everyone understands we have so many choices when it comes to how we build our health. We are sovereign in our health. So for more information on this podcast, you can visit my website, drshivani.com. I'm on social as Dr.Shivani Gupta on Instagram, and I'll catch you guys next week for the Fusionary Health Podcast. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Check out our sponsor, Fusionary Formulas, the potent turmeric supplement used by doctors around the U.S. for patients with pain and inflammation. www.fusionaryformulas.com. I'm your host, Dr. Shivani Gupta. For more, visit shivanigupta.com. Subscribe to this podcast in Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Click the follow button or subscribe in any of the apps that you use. That's all I've got for you on the Fusionary Health Podcast this week. You have the power to transform your health and achieve vibrant health starting today.